Chicken! I probably would too. Chicken! Give me chicken! Hi there, I'm Gareth from Dad TV, and I have a confession to make. I might be in love with Nier Replicant. Now, for those of you who don't know, there was a fun but somewhat unpolished game on PS2 called Drakengard. Drakengard will forever live rent-free in my brain because it was so much fun when I was a kid. Then there were two more Drakengard games, surprisingly called Drakengard 2 and Drakengard 3. And as a fool, I thought that was the end of the story. I thought that was all there was for Drakengard. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. A PS3 game was released. Here in the West it was called Nier, and it's actually a direct sequel to one of the endings of Drakengard, the first one. So basically Drakengard 3 comes as a prequel, then Drakengard 1, and yeah, Nier on PS3 was a sequel that I did not know about. That, at least for me, lost sequel has now been remade into Nier Replicant version 1.22 something or other. I cannot remember the name, like the full number string, and I never will, but it's basically the square root of 1.5, I think it was. Something like that anyway. But yes, I have now been playing Nier Replicant version 1.22 for about 7 hours. And I wanted to have a look and go over my first impressions of the game. But before we get into that, I would like to thank Square Enix for basically sponsoring my playthrough of Nier Replicant on the PS4. They were kind enough to give me the game, so you can catch me playing it live on Twitch. So why not click the link below? So yeah, as I said a minute ago, I completely missed the original Nier. It slipped me by, I never played it, I didn't know it was a sequel to Drakengard, I knew nothing about it, and yeah, I kind of just skipped over it in favour of other RPGs on the PS3. I can't even remember which ones they were now, but I did, I chose other ones instead. And playing through 1.22 now, I'm kind of realising that was a mistake. You see, the version of Nier that we got over here in the West is slightly different from the one that was remade. In Japan, they got Nier Gestalt and Nier Replicant. In Gestalt, you play as Father Nier, as he's been called, and in Replicant, you play as Brother Nier. So obviously that means the dynamics between the characters are quite different, because yeah, different ages, different relationships, things like that. So the story will play out quite differently too, even though it follows the same base plot. Because of the character interactions, it will feel very vastly different. And in the West, we got Nier Gestalt, but it was just called Nier. We never got Nier Replicant. Now we have Nier Replicant, and I am playing through Nier Replicant. And you know what? Kind of feel like I'm missing out on that other side of the story. The fact that I'm saying that kind of gives away my general feeling and opinion of Nier Replicant. But hey, let's get into it properly, shall we? So right at the start of Replicant, you are shown a ruined version of the modern world. You're immediately thrown into combat against a horde of enemies, and even though even this particular battle is a tutorial, it's exciting, it's fun, and it kind of really builds up the overall feeling for the rest of the game so far. I mean, I know I'm early on in it, but still, showing all of the skills. I mean, it basically does that thing where you play as a character that has all of the skills in the game to begin with, just to kind of say, look at all the cool stuff you can do. And you know what? It bloody works. Testing them out and just having so much fun. And it makes me so excited to get them actually in the main game. well and truly whet my appetite in the first 10 minutes of the game, and it's very rare for any game to do that. Even a really good RPG can take me hours, but this hooked me in 10 minutes. On top of that, the actual events going on around you and things that are being portrayed, the actual plot details in that opening. Oh my god, it immediately seems so dark and such a tragic game, and I love that. Yeah, basically it was hitting all the right marks from the get-go for me. Right from the offset, everything was in place. From there, the story then jumps, I think, just over 1,000 years into the future, I think it said. I've forgotten the exact number because that's the way I am. But we're basically introduced to the first of our main cast of characters, and also the world that the game actually takes place in. And let me say, the world of Nier Replicant is stunning. In fact, the whole game is a visual delight. It's the only way I can actually say it. Like, looking out at this world and you're like, wow. While we were playing it on Twitch, chat was even saying how beautiful the game is repeatedly, and you know what, I cannot disagree. I mean, it does admittedly feel a little empty at times. That is probably the biggest complaint in terms of visual presentation of the game. Because it has very big open areas, sometimes they feel a little empty. However, being that it's an action RPG, all that you need is, as you're running along, a few enemies to spawn, you've got a fight on your hands, and you know what? You completely forget about the empty feeling. And it does it so well. The enemy placements are perfect to stop you noticing that. On top of that, there is a massive variation in the actual areas that you go and visit, and I'm only 7 hours in, remember. So far, we've had the aesthetically pleasing but rather quaint village that you start in, where the protagonist lives. There is a rundown old world building that has been converted into a sort of temple, and at one point I've even gone to a massive industrial complex. It's outstanding and kind of bewildering to see all the different areas that you go to in just the first opening 7 hours, so I can only imagine where it's going to go from here. But the thing is, each area is lovingly crafted. Like, legitimately crafted so well, I can hardly believe it almost. Even the user interface appeals to me with this game, and in terms, when we're talking presentation, to get the user interface right can be really hard, especially for someone like me when I'm a fan of minimalist design. They absolutely nailed it. It's really impressive. They got minimalist design down to a T. Everything you need is there, but not in a way that it takes up unnecessary space. And I love that. It's perfect. And yet, despite everything that I've just said about visual presentation of this game, that's not really the biggest thing for me. With Nier, I can kind of explain it like this. When you buy Nier Replicant v1.22, you buy a really incredible, absolutely outstanding soundtrack, and you get a game with it. The music in Nier, oh my god, it's incredible. Yeah, I totally haven't listened to Song of the Ancients from Nier Replicant on repeat for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in a row since I started playing this game. The presentation so far in this first, 7 hours of Nier Replicant is near on flawless in my opinion. I'm pretty easily entertained, but I can be incredibly critical when I want to, and I cannot find anything other than every now and then it feels a little empty to criticise about this game. I should say again that I've been playing the PS4 game though. I have heard there are issues with the PC port. I have no experience in that, but you might want to keep that in mind. Moving on to gameplay though, Nier is pretty much your standard third-person action adventure. You will run around, you will attack, you will hack and slash, and you will use magic to kill things, all the while picking up side quests and following a main scenario story that will push you through the game. In a crux, that is the gameplay of Nier. It's interesting to know that the side quests will only give you rewards of cash. They won't give you rewards of actual experience points, so that's kind of important to know. But they're definitely worth doing, just because of the world building, because this game has a lot of lore. You have to read the history of items, you have to go and do certain side quests. It's all there, but you have to actively want to go and find it. I love that because I don't want things spoon-fed to me, but it's worth knowing that if you want that lore, you are going to have to work for it. I've just gotten to the point where I got my first party member. So it's also worth looking at and discussing the actual control or lack thereof of party members. The people in your party who are fighting alongside you will do whatever they want. But honestly, I prefer that way. Considering the scale of some of the fights in this game, and I'm, again, still early on, you have to concentrate on what you as the player character are doing. You have to be dodging and jumping and rolling and just having an actual fight. So because it's such an kind of ingrained and engaged combat system, you do not want to be sitting there trying to do all that with your main character and then trying to do all that with the secondary character in your party as well. I'm kind of glad that they went this completely computer controlled route for your party members. I can't help but think that if they went down something like FF7 Remake's menu system or Final Fantasy XII's Gambit system, for example, it would probably ruin the game. At the very least, it would make it far too complicated and less fun. So honestly, the fact that you can't control the party members is probably a good thing. Speaking of fights, I said that they're epic, and they really are. You should be able to see one on screen right now, just a quick glance of what they actually look like. You start off, obviously, fighting small fry, little creatures or robots or weird little shadowy things running around that you can kill pretty easily. But again, right at the start of the game, I've already fought a gigantic monstrous thing and a giant robot with arms that want to crush you, and the scale goes insane so quickly. It gets a lot of fun as you're sitting there trying to work out what to do with it all, and then in between that they go and throw in actual story dialogue and events into the fight. In the middle of your fight, you are hearing or experiencing story events. It's great. I love it. It doesn't feel forced, because you wouldn't go and, if you've got two people who need to, I don't know, argue something out in the middle of a fight, and the third person comes along with another argument, that person's not just going to stand there and wait for the first two people to keep fighting until they're done and then argue. They're all going to join in. And I love the fact that that's the sort of thing that happens so far. Not that exact example, but you get what I'm trying to say, I hope. I'm not going to go into plot details because, again, I'm only 7 hours in and there's a lot more plot and a lot more lore for me to actually go and find. But what I will say is, in that short amount of time, this game has hooked me to the point where I have already had dreams regarding this game. So yeah, my first opinions of Nier Replicant so far, based purely on the 7 hours that I've played, they're resoundingly positive. I can't wait to see where the rest of this game goes. It's phenomenal. I don't know if you're watching this, follow me on Twitter, but if you do, you will have seen that I've tweeted out that I enjoy this game so much that even though Square has sponsored me and given me the game, I still want to actually pay for it, so I'm going to buy it on Steam and give it away. I am really looking forward to seeing how it connects to Drakengard in more ways, because there's going to be a lot of ways and I can't wait to experience them all. And you can expect a revisit of my initial impressions once I'm done with the game, to see whether or not they still hold up and whether I still feel the same way. Because so far I think this game is in my top 10 of games of all time, and I've only just started playing it, so it'll be interesting to see what I think when I'm done with it. So make sure you go and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it and all that stuff that we're supposed to say. But also, if you really want to, and I would probably recommend it, you can click on the link down below and see my Twitch, where we're actually playing through it live on stream. So that could be a good option for you. If you like that video, there's a whole bunch more over on the right. So why not have a gander? Just one click, you can go and see what they are. And while you're at it, why not click subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos? Until then, all that's left for me to say, as always, is bye.